Oh, hello. Good morning. It's time for me to go through the Adepticon preview show. So yeah, this kicked off at 3 a.m. Watched the show, 4 a.m. It's now 6:45 in the morning, and I've just finished putting together the slide deck. So let's see how long this takes to run through. We're going to obviously focus on Kill Team, but we are going to touch on every single thing that was previewed during what feels like actually a pretty mammoth preview show in some ways. First, I want to talk about the format change. So, I got up, at 3 a.m. to watch this, and to my surprise, it wasn't live. It was a pre-recorded video, because it's too early for the GW staff to be awake, I guess. They have gotten up at mad times before to do preview streams, but on this occasion, they pre-recorded everything, which does make me feel like a bit of a mug for getting out of bed really early, but hopefully you guys appreciate this video coming out. It's not the first video out. I've not watched it yet. I see Glass Half Dead's already got a video out. That man is a machine, right? Took me a couple of hours to get this one ready, but there we go. Hopefully people value it, right? Now, one of the nice things about it being pre-recorded is rather than having the two marketing guys and a producer that's raked out of bed to do a show, because this was done in advance, it featured more senior GW staff talking about their games. So, for example, we had Elliot come on to talk about the Kill Team stuff, and that's not generally a feature of these streams, so that was a positive thing. One thing that was less positive, the chat was pure salt. Some people were unhappy that there wasn't more 40k. Some people were unhappy that it was pre-recorded. Some people were unhappy that they weren't getting to see the new Skaven models. Just, there was a lot of anger and salt in the chat. Now, I think it was a pretty good preview, right, in terms of how much they showed off. It's certainly taken me a lot to put it all together, to put it into this slideshow and stuff for you. But yeah, there were some phenomenally unhappy gamers in that chat. So if you were phenomenally unhappy and you can articulate exactly why, please do let me know in the comments. So it's Kill Team Focus channel, so we're going to start off with Kill Team. So the big news is that the next box is Kill Team Termination. Now, yeah, Valrak was wrong about the name, but he was right about everything else. It is Hernkyn Yaegirs versus Brood Brothers. And you also get some little tiny plasma generators and a book and some cards, just like the previous two boxes. Nice. The little generators look a bit plain, but they also look really useful, in that they're nice, straightforward line of sight blocking terrain pieces. Not quite sure how they fit in with Beta Decima, but they look like they'd be cool on a variety of tables. So we're going to start with the Brood Brothers. So the Brood Brothers are, of course, a squad of Cadian shock troops with an upgrade sprue, and it looks like a pretty involved upgrade sprue. Like, I want to say, first of all, I really like the look of this team. I like the paint scheme they've gone for. I didn't think I was going to care for the Brood Brothers. I think these look really awesome. So it looks like a fairly generic 10 model team. So they showed off 10 models on Warcom, and then there are two more specialists that are in the video that weren't featured in the Warcom article, which is an interesting choice. So we've got Icon, a comms guy, some kind of close combat fellow with a club, what looks like a basic trooper with a lasgun, and another basic trooper with a lasgun. The leader there, who has a power sword, a pistol of some kind, and a gene stealery hand, right? Gunner with a melter gun, a sniper, right? What looks like a medic, he's got a medic bag and some kind of needle pistol. And I've called him a veteran. He's growing his third arm there. He's got a bolter or a shotgun from somewhere, right? And then from the video, there's also a demo guy with a big funny cartoon dynamite thing. And a second close combat guy with two knives who's maybe stealthy and sneaky. So this looks like a fairly generic 10 model team in a lot of ways, right? You've got all of those really common things. So, gunners, snipers, medics, demo guys, comms, icons. We kind of can guess what all those things are going to do. Interesting that they showed off two troopers on the website, and then there's also two extra specialists in the video. So that makes me think that at least one loadout for this team is going to be 10 models, and you have to have two troopers, right? And so you can't take all the specialists. And so there are more models in this. We're going to come on to that in a second. But even if we just take these models to begin with, the ones that you get on these sprues, I don't think you can even have all these specialists. So there's going to be a lot of choices in this team, like, I think. Or you don't need to take any basic troopers and they're just shown us 2 for no reason, right? I don't know. I also think that you're going to get the options for a flame or grenade launcher and a plasma, because they are also included in the Cadian kit that the upgrade sprue is for. So even though they're only showing a melter gunner here, I wouldn't take away from that you're only going to have access to a melter gun. My feeling, and it is only a feeling, generally we get 2 gunners. They've only shown us 1 gunner. Maybe they're going to do the Kazakin thing of having like 2 gunners, but your sniper counts as one of your gunners. I could kind of see that. I expect the 10 shown on the website will be a legal team, and it'll be interesting to see. I suspect you'll have to have those 2 troopers, and you can swap in the second close combat fellow and the demo fellow instead of some of the others if you want to. So that's already quite a lot of choice, right? With 2 specialists potentially to choose whether you want to include them and instead of who. But those of you that have already read the article or watched the reveal stream will know that's not the only choice, right? They've also thrown in the Brood Coven set, right? Which is an older set that used to be, I think it was way back when, it was part of like a big box with some Deathwatch, right? And it was one of these big box sets where all the characters were sprued up together, which is why it's been continued to be sold as a separate thing and has kind of been sold weirdly. So this is an existing 40k box that currently costs £42.50. They're overcharging for that, right? Because when it was initially released in a big box a long time ago, it was much cheaper. So my feeling is they've had to heavily discount this again, right? So, you know, this is a £42.50 set. The Cadians are by themselves a £30 set. Right, so that's $72.50 worth of value, plus whatever you think the Brood Brother sprue is worth. Obviously, hopefully, the kill team in a box is going to be nowhere near £70, right? So this is a lot of value you're getting if you like the models, compared to the other ways that you could buy them today, right? Elliot said on the stream that the Patriarch was the scariest single model they've put into kill teams so far, right? And with the double activation and the mind control, so he has double activation apparently, so he can double activate, but he also has mind control, so you can move enemy models around somehow, right? But Elliot did also say that you have to trade out numerous other models if you want to take the Broodlord. So we don't quite know how it's going to work. One way it could work is if it's like a 10-man basics team that's playable, like I showed on the previous slide, and then you trade out, you have slots, so maybe you trade out 2 models for a Magus, 2 models for a Primus, or 4, 6 models for a Broodlord? I don't know, right? Which is quite interesting, because it means that potentially from one team and one roster, you could have very different ways to play across one tournament, if that's something that appeals to you. So you could go for a hyper-elite thing with a Patriarch and like a couple of other guys, whatever it turns out to be. Or you can go for the 10-man guard squad with generic specialists experience, right? So there looks to be, there's got a good bit of flexibility there. You've also got the Magus and the Primus. The Primus, I really feel, doesn't fit the aesthetic of the rest of the models in the box, you know, because you've got the, it will be great if I know why it's there. It's there because of the way this was sprued out originally for the Genestealer Occults. But because the Primus, if you like, is in the default Genestealer Occult uniform and no one else is, it looks a bit weird. I think it might be tempting to convert your Primus, maybe get like an Imperial Guard Commissar, right, and kit bash it with the arm from and the head from the Primus to make something that looks a bit more like it fits in with the Brood Brothers. That could be something that you might do. Might be something I do if I decide to play this team. I think that the Patriarch and the Magus you can leave as they are, that's fine. But the Primus should, I think, be also Brood Brothery in some way. I don't know, that doesn't quite sit with me. No words on if the little familiars, they weren't mentioned at all in the stream, but I noticed they are in the set, so it's not unreasonable to suspect that this might be like a 12-man team and you always get the 2 little familiars, right? That's quite possible, isn't it? And then you can go down from 12 and swap out for the other things. I don't know. Your thoughts in the comments as to how exactly this will work will be appreciated. Obviously, we've got a fairly clear idea. It just needs to be, like, the main thing we're waiting for, really, with this team, I would say, is exactly how many models are you swapping out from the basic Brood Brother guys to get the various characters and specialists, right? Then we've got the Hernkyn Yaegirs. Can I say, these look really cool. These are what, there's still quite a lot of Votann in there. You can still see the weird Votann spacesuits, but they do look a lot cooler than the regular Votann. Those coats, those cloth elements, especially the ones that have the coats closed, right? They look really cool. I'm really fond of the demo guy with the little knitted hat, which is like potentially a callback to the Orc Commandos, but potentially also just a callback to the game Team Fortress, where the demo guy has a little knitted beanie on, right? That's pretty cool. So these are pretty... They're really cool looking, but they also have pretty obvious generic looking guys. So you've got a combat guy with 2 daggers, again, same as the Genestealer cults also have a combat guy with 2 daggers from the video there. We've seen combat guys with 2 daggers before. We got the Bombast, who's your Pistolier type. Now, it was said in the video that the Bombast has a special thing where he can shoot an extra time at the start of the turn, right, which is interesting. We seem to have 2 basic troopers. The Tracker with a crossbow and those weird goggles, so he's probably going to be a silent weapon with the ability to ignore conceal, if I was guessing, but maybe shorter range because it's a crossbow pistol, isn't it? So that's quite an interesting combo, like having the silence and the ignore conceal, but you have to move him up. You can't just sit him on a vantage point. You've got the Riflekin, right, who's obviously a sniper, probably going to do fairly fairly standard sniper things, probably not going to ignore conceal if that's what the goggles do for the Tracker, because he doesn't have cool goggles. The demo guy, who's like the best model in the box, because he's got the cool bombs thing, and he's got his little beanie on, and he's also got a pickaxe, because dwarves like to mine, and that's pretty cool, and obviously mining is his thing, right? You've got the Thane, who's the leader, who's got obviously a gun and also a dagger. You've got what I'm assuming is some kind of veteran with a pistol and a dagger. Could equally just be another build of trooper. Maybe there's 3 default troopers, and all the troopers have the option of taking a shotgun or a pistol and a dagger. Don't know, right? And then the Thane's thing is he gets the shotgun and the dagger. And then you've got a missile launcher. So from the first angle, it kind of looks like a needle weapon, and then in the video you see it around the side, and you can see that it is a missile launcher. Can't decide whether it's going to be a 10 model team with 2 mandatory troopers or like an 8 model team, and they're just showing off everything in the box, because obviously it wants to be a squad for 40k as well, but it's probably a 10 model team with 2 mandatory troopers. Unlike the Brood Brothers, it looks like this is going to be pretty much fixed list, so I can't see any way you can deviate from this. So some people love that, where you just get a single box and build it and that's your team, and some people hate the lack of flexibility, but that's what it is. So it's there for the people that like fixed lists. We got more rules info on these guys in the stream than we did on the Brood Brothers, so they apparently all get to deploy further forward, so out of their deployment zone. I'm assuming this is because they're going to all have 2 circle moves, so they start a little bit further up the board, but then they're a little bit less maneuverable, so you can get on those early objectives earlier, but you do struggle to push further. Ellie has also talked about them having the ability to lay mines. Now, I don't know if that's just they've got a demo guy and he can lay mines for like an action, or whether they've actually got like a pre-game ability to seed the battlefield with mines, which I could see. That'd be interesting. They have what I think Elliot called resourceful points, which is a weird word, but there you go. So it's basically like Kazakin or Vitiates. They have a second resource alongside command points that they have to track. And the resourceful points, 2 things that were called out were you could use them to heal wounds or add APL. I guess there'll be a menu of things you can spend your resourceful points on throughout the game, and then eventually they'll run out, right? So they look like the team is very much going to be, they're deploying further up the board. They're going to start with all these resourceful points. They're going to be really potent early game, and then they're going to have to kind of hang on through the late game when they're suffering with their low movement and they're running low on resource points, I imagine, right? Narratively, so Jaegers are Hernkyn commandos that get left behind when a presence needs to be maintained. Because the Hernkyn as a whole thing are the scouts, right? That's why you have Hernkyn pioneers. But the Jaegers are the ones that, when they've scouted something out and they're waiting for the rest of the kin to arrive, they leave the Jaegers there to kind of harass the enemy and then disrupt the enemy until the main forces can arrive. These models are much more my cup of tea. Much prefer these to the first kin-based team. I think these are pretty cool. Rules-wise, they might fall a little flat. I don't know. We shall see. I've just got a bad feeling, like looking at the models, like the rules are going to be like, the same kind of feeling with Space Marine Scouts, where you look at them and you're like, yeah, but they're just going to be like that, aren't they? And they're going to be meh. So we'll see. We'll see rules-wise, but miniature-wise, aesthetically, I think they look great, right? So this ends the kill team portion of the presentation. We're going to have a little look at some 40k. So for 40k, they unveiled 2 new Chaos Lords. So if you look on the far left-hand side of the screen, you kind of see the default pose for the Power Armor Lord and for the Jump Pack Lord. And then they've shown off some of the alternate builds. So what they've done here is they've produced 2 really nice-looking, really modular Chaos Lords, which is cool. Like, I think that's a really cool idea, and it's nice when, especially with HQ characters, when they make these really modular characters with loads of different options to choose from, right? Now, sadly, they've locked each Chaos Lord in a separate Battleforce full of old models that if you're a long-term Chaos player, you've already got these older models. That's a bit annoying, right? The Dread Talons box is quite funny to me because it comes with the Demon Prince and 10 Raptors, the new Lord, and then all the models that you need for a Chaos Cults kill team. So if you lost Chaos, if you missed out on Ashes of Faith, you didn't buy that the first time round, and you want a Chaos Cults kill team, if you were to pick up the box, the Dread Talons box, sell the Demon Prince, the brand new model, and I guess the Raptors on eBay, you might be able to get a Chaos Cults kill team for a very small amount of money if you're prepared to assume the risk of trying to sell the more desirable parts of the box. In the alternative, you could just hang out and wait to see if people are splitting out this box on eBay and potentially pick up your Chaos Cults kill team for quite cheap, right? The other box, Veterans of the Long War, is a much more of a generic starter box, so it's like the new character plus Legion, basic Legionnaires, Terminators, Possessed, right, and Chosen. Great for new players, but really punishing for existing ones that would just like to pick up, especially since that Power Armored Lord is like a cool nostalgia throwback to like a 1999 model. Like, okay, some of them people are going to buy the box and get off all the miniatures that they don't need, and other people are going to be sitting there going, one day Games Workshop will release this Lord on his own and I can buy it. It's just annoying, Games Workshop. You just stop it, locking these miniatures in these boxes full of stuff. It's interesting though, again, like the Orcs and the Custodes that we've seen previewed, there's no codexes in the boxes, and they don't appear to have produced a limited codex either, which is interesting. Talking about the codex, they did also talk about the codex, so there are 8 detachments, right? Some of which were called out. So in the Warcom article, they talked about piratical raiders and devotees of Vashtor the Archfane, right? I'm guessing that the piratical raiders are there to let you do a Red Corsairs style army. And then in the video, they talked about a cultist horde, a demon engine. Now, the demon engines one from the video could be the same as the devotees of Vashtor the Archfane, like I don't know, right? Alpha Legion style, all sneaking up on people. Tanky Siege Engine Iron Warriors one, and the Index detachment is apparently supposed to represent the Word Bearers. So the Index detachment obviously comes back and is reprinted in the book, but it also is supposed to represent the Word Bearers, not the Black Legion, which is fair enough. And it's just like Codex Space Marines. The detachments clearly relate to the chapters or the legions, I guess, but they're not locked to them. So it's like if you want to do Night Lord tanks, you totally can. The norm for the 10th edition codex is that the detachments are like the most interesting parts, right? So it's nice to see Chaos Marines getting 8. I'm guessing that of the ones they've not mentioned, there's one for Night Lords and Black Legion. So, we get a detachment that kind of maps onto, and again, not directly, but like this is obviously the one for these kinds of things, but you can play it with any, right? But 5 undivided legions, because obviously the other 3 are getting have got their own books, and Slanesh is rumored to be getting his own book, right? So 5 undivided legions plus pirates plus Vashtor plus cultists. If that doesn't already count as one of the legions, that could be your 8. That could be your 8 detachments right there. So nice that Codex Chaos Space Marines are coming out. Nice that it has all these detachments. I'm sure Mrs. TI will be picking up this book when it becomes available, because Chaos Space Marines are her main 40k army. Right, we're going to talk a bit about Warcry. Alright, so the leaks were absolutely bob on here as well. Okay, so the new box is Tyratic Cohorts, which are the Bone Reapers, versus the Twistweald, who are Sylvaneth. And a new terrain piece, which for my money is the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's supposed to be like a tree that eats people, and then they capture the tree that eats people and tie it up, and then it kind of transforms into an altar because they're feeding it, and it becomes like happy to like stand in one place because it's getting fed. But it looks really dumb. It looks like a 5-year-old's drawing of a monster. Like what? I'm not a fan. All right. Also comes with all the other things you'd expect from Warcry, so a book and some cards. Okay. So the Tyratic Cohorts are these guys, the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Interesting that one of the spearmen seems to have stolen a Sylvaneth spear there or something. That's quite odd. So each Bone Reaper is apparently being punished for failing in a previous battle. And they have a mechanic where they get to spend a wild dice as a resource in one way. So if you're aware of how Warcry works, when you roll your dice, you also have a wild dice, and you can sub the wild dice into the dice that you've rolled. I'm not a massive Warcry expert, but these guys do seem like they're going to be very fast and very mobile, which is a big deal from what I remember of Warcry. One thing that also struck me looking at these is the centaur's pretty funny, because you've got to remember that unlike all the traditional undead, the Ossiarch Bone Reapers don't resurrect animals that die. They are taking in their bone tithe and building like jigsaws, new things. So you've got a lot of dead people, and you've got a lot of dead horses. That means that you can make basically infinite undead centaurs if you're the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, right? Which is a pretty funny idea. Why don't they just make an entire army of undead centaurs just by combining all of the human skeletons with all of the horse skeletons? You know? And then you've got the Twistweald. These are possibly the least interesting models of the whole thing to me, okay? So they're Sylvaneth. They're infected in some way. Their leader is working hard to heal them up and keep them alive. So the leader is the lady with the staff and the bees and all the beehives. So the leader's working hard to heal them up and keep them alive while they try and return home to get cured. These models do nothing to me, and in fact, like 3 of them look like the same model. So I don't quite get it. But if you like Sylvaneth, you'll probably like these. You know, the leader's pretty cool, I guess, but yeah, they don't do that much for me. I kind of expect Warcry to be better in some ways because it's getting all these bespoke sculpts, and these more than anything look quite generic, like Age of Sigmar fellows, right? Especially those 3 in the middle just look like they could be pulled out of the unit in Age of Sigmar, don't they? There you go. Moving on to Underworlds. So Underworlds Wintermoor, the next Underworlds box. Interestingly, the leaks were wrong, right? The leaks were saying like it was going to be Nighthorn versus something else, and it's not. It's Cities of Sigmar versus Flesh Eater Courts, right? So the Brethren of the Bolt versus the Sinnerkin. And the Underworlds box, as always, has all of the things that you need to play these teams, plus 2 Rivals decks that can be used with any team as per usual. So let's have a look at the teams. On the left here, we've got the Brethren of the Bolt. Okay. They are, for me, both these teams are a swing and a miss, especially by the standard of Warhammer Underworlds, which usually has beautiful models, okay? The Brethren of the Bolt are once again doing that thing like the Electric Zombies did, where they just look like they belong to a different game. They don't look Warhammer, right? I don't know what it is. Sorry, excuse me, been up since 3. the leader, right, and I assume the leader is the fella that's like the fat guy with the head on top of his head, right, does have a skull hanging off him, which is pretty cool. But, yeah, they just look a bit weird to me. Don't know. And the Flesh Eater Courts, on the other hand, they look like Flesh Eater Courts fellows. They just look like Flesh Eater Courts fellows. You know, 3 of them, especially, just look like they could just be in your ghouls unit as a mid-rank ghoul just ghouling about. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? You've got the Wingerling guy, and you've got the guy with the cleaver, and they're a bit more special, so they're fine. They're just not that interesting to me. Yeah. Let's have a look at a Brexia Spear of the Everchosen. So this is like the final release, if you like, of the current edition of Age of Sigmar. And it's a Chaos Lord on a giant wingless lizard. That's pretty cool. Okay. She is coming first, trapped in a box with 3 Varangard, because Games Workshop will not miss the opportunity to make you buy a kit you already have to get any shiny new kit that you want. Okay. The spear and the lore behind the spear is quite interesting. So the spear mutates everything it touches. It also mutates her, which is why she's red and has horns. Apparently that was like 1 momentary lapse in concentration, and if she lapsed more in concentration in future, she would mutate even harder, right? Now, she's obviously the primary antagonist in the new Dawnbringers book, which was full of lore updates that I didn't quite follow because I vaguely care about Age of Sigmar, right? But I haven't been following the Dawnbringers lore and the backwards and forwards, okay? She does have an army list themed around her also in that book, but I wouldn't go out and buy loads of models for it because you're going to be playing it for about 10 minutes before the new edition comes out. Also, weird terrain piece, which is like a crashed Chaos Star thing with a floaty thing in the middle. It does like nothing for me, and it just looks like a kit bash of 2 other terrain pieces they've recently done. Like, they did a big standing up Chaos Stargate thing, and then the bit in the middle just looks like some of the bits from one of the Endless Spells. I'm sure it's going to have rules, and the rules might be cool, but as an aesthetic object, the terrain piece doesn't do much for me. Sorry. Now we talk about the new edition of Age of Sigmar, right? So we knew we were going to hear about the new edition of Age of Sigmar. They've released a cinematic trailer. Go and watch the cinematic trailer. There's loads of, like, it's cool, right? But the headline, like the executive summary, is that it's Skaven versus what's called the Ruination Chamber of Stormcast. So the Ruination Chamber are interesting. They're essentially Stormcast that have been reformed one too many times and seem to be trading in their humanity for lightning magic, right? Now, no new models were shown off, so we didn't get the contents of the starter set, which upset a lot of people in the chat on the stream, which wasn't a stream, it was a video. But what we did get that I think is actually more exciting than models, okay, is some important information about the game. So this new edition of Age of Sigmar 4th edition, is going to be the first index edition. Right, so it's not an evolution, it's all brand new rules, all the army books are out of date. It's the first time this happened, so Age of Sigmar's gone for 9 years, right, with 3 editions without getting scrapped and redone, right? So this is the first kind of big, right, everything's out, we're replacing everything, okay? It seems very similar to 40k 10th edition in a lot of ways. So they don't use the phrase simplified, not simple, but they talk about the game having been made simplified and streamlined and made more accessible, but not apparently at the cost of technical depth. Okay. Important point is that the indexes will be free and downloadable, right? Just like 10th edition 40k, so you're not going to have to go out like we did in 9th edition and buy 8th edition rather, and buy these index phone book things, right? We're just going to get those free on the internet, which is good. They've put in a new way to play that's called Spearhead, which just sounds very analogous to Combat Patrol, so it does all the Combat Patrol things, where you play with the box, with the fixed lists. Apparently it is compatible with the current Vanguard boxes, as well as the new Spearhead boxes that are coming out, okay? It does sound from the video, from what we watched on the thing, to be a bit more involved than Combat Patrol in terms of how much it's altered the gameplay. Like, you need card decks and a board from the starter set, apparently. So I think it might be a bit more I think Spearhead might be a little more removed from normal Age of Sigmar than Combat Patrol is from 40k, from what they were saying, but this is just me picking up on things that were half said, right? The only other weird rules thing that was dropped, and this might mean loads to Age of Sigmar people, is that in 4th edition, all melee weapons have a 3-inch range, which apparently is going to be massively important to some people. So, new Age of Sigmar, listen, I'm not about to charge out and buy the box because Stormcast Eternals and Skaven don't appeal to me or to Mrs. TI, but I might well pick up the core book and try and get into 4th edition Age of Sigmar and look through the index and put together, an army list for my Soulblight Gravelords, and you could see some Age of Sigmar content on the channel a little bit here and there, who knows, right? Dwarves are returning to the old world. Okay, so it begins with a book in a box, right? And just like Orcs and Goblins, there's no new miniatures in the battalion box, which is nice of them, right? They're not gating the new things in the box, so people with massive existing armies don't feel they need to buy the box to get the new stuff. There's also going to be a card pack, right? And they've got a few new models. We're going to look at those, and they're also bringing back a load of older sculpts, right? So the new models, 3 sets, 4 models, I guess. To the left, you got the Thane with Handgun and Ungrim Iron Fist, who are both coming out in Forge World resin. Okay. And on the right is the new plastic Dwarf Lord with shield, so you're getting 1 new plastic thing for the Dwarves, but it comes with the Dwarf Lord on foot. So you've got the Dwarf Lord who's shown on the shield here with the great weapon, the Dwarf Lord on foot with the hand weapon and the shield, and apparently the thing is that you can put the Dwarf Lord on foot on the shield, and you can put the guy on the shield on a base if you want to swap them around, or you could keep them loose or magnetize them or something else and swap and change between them as you wanted, which is pretty cool. Is it enough in terms of new miniatures? You know, like the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnians got big, like monstrous things, and they got more new kits. The Orcs and the Dwarves, and presumably all the future armies after that, seem to have got less in the way of new kits. One place where they can't be accused of getting less, though, is in their returning models. There's more than this. There's more than just the images that you show on the screen, that I've shown on the screen, right? So, in plastic, the following things are returning: Ironbreaker's Hammers, Warriors, Miners, Quarrelers, Runesmith, the Slayer of Legend, the King on an Oathstone, the Gyrocopter, the Cannon and Organ Gun set. Right. One thing has been remastered in Forge World resin, and that's the Dwarf Command set, which is shown in the top right-hand corner of the slide. So it's that massive banner, the fellow leaning on the axe, and the Slayer there, right? And then coming in metal, some of which is shown and many of which isn't. The Grudge Thrower, the Bolt Thrower, the Flame Cannon, the Anvil of Doom, the Master Engineers, Slayers, the Slayer Command, the Doom Seekers, the Goblin Hewer, Imperial Dwarves and Command, and the classic little Joseph Bugman on cart, which they only showed in the video and not on the website, but I went and got a screen cap for you because it's really funny. Now, that's still not all, because they're also doing a made-to-order, right? And now this is getting its own slide because it's weird. And if this is something that you want because you're of a certain vintage and you missed it because it wasn't well explained, then hopefully I can help explain it to you, okay? So this is Prince Ulthar and his Dragon Company, which is returning to Made to Order in 2 separate sets. So they've pictured an amalgamation here, but it's coming in 2 separate sets. One set's getting you the Prince, his champion, and a standard and a musician, and one with 5 Dwarf Warriors. So presumably, you might end up buying the one with 5 Dwarf Warriors like twice or 3 times, depending on how big a regiment you want, right? And this is a regiment of renown that can be used by Dwarf and Imperial armies. And the rules are in its box. They're not in the book that it comes with. The rules are in its box, right? Now, this is before my time. I'm not familiar with these models before, my first time looking at them. They do look like they're going to be tiny, even as compared to your other dwarves. So if you're buying these, just be aware that if they're dwarves from the 80s, they're going to be really, really small, right? Then they also tacked on to the end of the article this idea that there's also going to be more models that are coming out as made to order in the future. 5 Metal Lords, 3 Runesmiths, 4 Dragon and Demon Slayers, a Dwarf Queen, and a Lord, a Thane, and a Standard Bearer in resin. but those made to orders, they haven't shown the pictures off yet, but they're going to be coming out for the Dwarves later. One thing I really like about the old world and the way it releases is the way that they just go, right, here's everything for the... They don't drip it out, they just go, right, here's everything for this faction, off we go, right? Now, you've got your own opinions, whether you think it's fair for them to just be, because the majority of things are old models, and does anybody actually care about those old models, and this, that, and the other. But at least they're very upfront and straightforward about, this is it, this is what you're getting, this is so you can plan, off you go, right? And considering that the temptation is for people, because the rules are already out, is for buying things off eBay, at least by getting the information out there going, no, this is what we're going to provide you with, people will know what to not be chasing after on eBay, right? And that's it for the main reveals. We're going to look at the teasers now. So there was the Horus Heresy teaser, which literally just showed you these 3 images on the right-hand side on the black background. So you've got Mars, you've got a Mechanicum symbol, and you've got Get Your Cogs Whirring. So it literally is just, it could be anything Mechanicum for the Horus Heresy whatsoever. Now, the leaks suggested that it was going to be the Forge World Knights coming in plastic. So I've put the 4 Forge World Knights down at the bottom there for you to look at. Those are the Forge World Knights that you can buy, not scale with each other, hilariously. I could totally see some or all of those getting remastered into plastic, and that being a big deal tentpole release for Games Workshop with the Horus Heresy, because they absolutely seem to love with the Horus Heresy remastering resin vehicles into plastic and selling them off. So that could well be what it is. Obviously, it could be anything Mechanicum, we don't know, but maybe if you were thinking of investing in one of these knights, and some of them are quite expensive, maybe like hold off on buying a Mechanicum knight until we know what this is, in case it is them being made into plastic, right? And the final teaser was the Necromunda teaser. They showed this one silhouette and then just the words, "Join the expedition." Now, we've had the rumours that they're going to be going to Hive Secundus, which could work for join the expedition. You know, people doing an expedition into Hive Secundus to find the treasure that's apparently there, and then secretly, oh no, it's full of gene stealers. But what are these miniatures in silhouette? They're going to be presumably some kind of treasure hunters, right? Maybe they're just a totally new thing. They do maybe look a little bit like Van Saar. There's an outside chance they could be a return or a reimagining of the Spires in some way. But I really don't quite know. If you've got any strong thoughts on what these could be, let me know. Let me know in the comments, right? Let me know in the comments what you think these models are, and we'll have a chat about it down there. Final thoughts. Right, that was a lot. I was up at 3 a.m, right? And I didn't start recording until, I've written 7:45, that's a lie. I didn't start recording until 6:45. It's now 7:22. I'm supposed to leave the house to go to work at 8 o'clock, and I'm still in my pyjamas. So that's exciting. Hopefully you found this both useful and entertaining. Like, I would say, especially this video, like these videos where I have to get up at a ridiculous time and feel awful all day, like, you can really show me that you have found it useful, engaging, entertaining, and that I put quite a lot of work into. Like, it takes an hour or so to put the slides together as well, and then another like 40 minutes to do the voiceover. So these videos are actually kind of more work than the average one that I do on my channel. So please consider like subscribing, liking the video, and if it's something that you can afford, like membership, we massively appreciated. Speaking of membership, obviously big shout out to Nightfall and Massive Crit, who are both subscribed at the highest tier and get that shout out every single video. I have been doing a lot for the, like, it was funny last night I was doing the hobby stream from 7:30 to 10, go to bed, try and get 5 hours sleep, come back, do this. So it's been like YouTube in my head all day, and I've got to go off to work. So that's what we're doing. We're going in a second. I'm finishing the video, but thank you for watching, and do leave your thoughts and feedback down below, and anything you're particularly excited about from the preview. For me personally, the only thing that I want to buy, I think I will buy now the new Kill Team box. I think the miniatures have won me round. When they were described in text, I was like, oh, Votan versus Broom Brothers, meh, right? But I think I will try and pick that one up. You know, I think the models do appeal to me enough to want to pick it up. I think that Helen's going to want to get the Chaos Codex. I don't know how she feels about either of the Chaos Lords or not, but she's going to want to get the Chaos Codex. And other than that, I can't see us buying any of the other stuff that was previewed today. It's not like when the new edition of Age of Sigmar comes around, I'll probably pick up a rulebook, right? But I'm not hyped for Stormcast or Skaven. Alright, let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks everybody. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, and I'll see you at the weekend, right, for the next video.